Welcome everyone. Thank you for being with us. We are really happy to announce the TAB 2024 Curatorial competition. And this is a short briefing session for you guys. So I will just go over the outline of today's session, and then I will pass on word to Raul, who you see here as well. So I'm Anu, I'm producer working for Estonian Centre for Architecture. Produced also TAB 2022 with my colleagues, and some of them are not here today, but even so. So very shortly after myself, I will pass on the word to Raul, who is the head of our center, who will give a short introduction and overview of the competition conditions, and will stress the main points that we are kind of expecting and looking forward to have in your work. We will also have Areti here, who will hopefully join us as well very soon. So she was one of the head curators of TAB 2022, and she'll just share her experience. And maybe we'll give some good advice as well. We will also have here Kaidi Põldoja and Paco Ulman, who are part of we're working for the Spatial Planning and Design Department of Tallinn Strategic Management Office. And they will talk about the vision competition and what the city expects to see or hopefully gain from this competition. And we will leave about 20 minutes for Q&A. So if in the course of introduction or talks you have questions, you can already start and sort of write them down in the chat. So I will moderate, but of course you can ask in person, and also if there is a question that is perhaps too complicated or very requires a little thought and maybe discussion, we will also answer over email, and we will put up the main Q&A also on our website later, and also this recording. So this is really shortly from my side, and now I will have Raul for you, who is the head of our center and has been organizing TAB for very many times already. So please, Raul.
Thank you, Anu. I'm happy that to share our thoughts and ideas about next TAB. But before we go to the next 2024 TAB, just briefly some facts and information, just looking back to the last TAB. What was created by Lydia Kalipoliti and Areti Markopoulou. Again, I would express deep gratitude and thank you again to them for this such amazing and wonderful event they put together, and it was very nice opportunity to share the ideas about food and edible architecture. Though the first week got almost 3,000 visitors, and as you know, the TAB has been always kind of focusing on the first week, and then exhibitions and talks and other events throughout other couple of months until then November. But mainly a main focus on the first week, which is usually been on the second week of September. The biggest symposium what we had was around 300 guests and 30 speakers. So it was very useful and inspiring discussion over those days. Altogether, there was 20 events during the opening week. Most of them, or some of them, were inside the main program organized by the curators, and but very many of them as well as a side program as a satellite program organized by other institutions and other teams. So we would say that all what was set up and done was successful, and it got quite a nice international response as well, with almost 300 articles in the international and local press. But coming to the most important thing for the next Architecture Biennale 2024, I would say that still our aim is always been promote high quality built environment, and today definitely it's very important that we should think about all our challenges. The tab generally, it is about giving the platform to the architecture discussion internationally, but very important part is as well to give to bind the local architecture scanner to the international scanner. That is very important part of the vision for the tab has been, and yeah, that's kind of why we see that collaboration with international team with the local architects, because we see that architecture by the nature, it is the discipline and local discipline. It's the nice built environment and good and sustainable built environment is taking part local aspects, and that's we see as well the nature of the tab as well, that it gives to the local scanner as well, beside giving the platform for the international discussion. And of course, tab has been experimental and flexible over the years. Many different aspects of the architecture challenges what we've all faces have been on the table, and I think that it should continue as well. That it's a way we should think what's will be in the future. So that why academic part is very important, have been and is still in the future as well. I think important part of the DAP. But on the other hand, the practical side of the architecture, that so binding those things together, having the cocktail with academic part and practical part is the ideal. And I would say that the last DABs curators have been successful to binding those things to theory and as well the practical side of the architecture. So what else important thing to bring out here? Of course, the main thing is the curator competition is about the vision for the future, for the next tab. That wise, and it sets the tone for the next for the next year event, and that's and curators have been always very important part, the most important part of the success of the tab. And on the other hand, of course, we should admit that our role as a center and the main organizer is to provide help for the curators and curators team, to give them opportunity to set the scanner and give the opportunity to realize the vision, their vision and the ideas of the next tab. And of course, I should again go over and explain share some words about the events, what is been before in the program of the main program of the tab, and as well for the next tab as well. We are expecting from the curator sets the main theme the topic, what is we will talk about, and what we will show up on the next tab. And then, of course, most important events, curators curatorial exhibition, which is most likely will take part in Architecture Museum, what is been there. It is a great place to show and share the architecture. And of course, the book, the catalog of the tab events, and installation competition. In previous years, at least some last editions, the installation competition have been separately organized. But on this, for this time, we see the value that they're giving the opportunity to for the curators team again set up the installation competition brief and the idea and all the through the international competition as it been in previous years, but together closely collaborated with curators team. Of course, Envision competition, what's been always part of the Tallinn Architecture Biennale since first Biennale since 2011. And we tried to find the Vision competition with specifically with the local context. And that's why we see today and hear today the ideas and their experience and wills of Tallinn city's representative, and they thought about a vision competition theme or the ideas and struggles what Tallinn sees. And of course, symposium, which is always been as well since first tab, and we see that the opportunity to bind in symposium together the main theme and as well the great architects who will be in the curatorial exhibition. So that's kind of the main events what has been. Mostly this as it was on last tab, but maybe as to emphasize the changes that we see the close collaboration for the installation competition. And yeah, that's kind of overview what we see from the teams who will come and share their ideas, most likely to the competition. And yeah, that's kind of briefly what we can share. And of course, if you have any question, I will be happy to share the ideas. Yeah, that's my ideas, and I'll give back to Anu, and who will share briefly again the timeline.
So yes, these are the most important dates for the upcoming competition. So April 4th is your deadline, and you can obviously see what happens then. We will have stage 1 and stage 2, and we will announce the winners before end of this April. So if you have any questions, we are here for you. Please use the general tab email address. And again, as I said, we will publish this session also online, and probably Q&A as well in addition. But as I can see, we have Areti here. Lovely to see you again. So I will stop sharing my screen.
Hi, Anu, Raul. So good to see you all.
So good to see you as well. Long time.
Hello, Areti. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
So now the screen is yours. Please share your experience. You will have about 10 minutes.
Okay. I was not sure, whereas you want me to share some slides. So what I will do, like, very quickly, I think that can you see my screen? Yes. Maybe just to go through, let's say, the main responsibilities that the curator have during the event of Tallinn Biennale. Raul has already mentioned this, but it might be interesting to also just go very quickly again through them. So as curators, we are responsible, of course, to present a theme out of which we are selected. You will be selected. And then the main responsibilities lie on setting up the main curatorial exhibition in the Center for Architecture, the museum. It's a beautiful space. It's a 2-floor space, which also allows to create different kind of configurations. But the main exhibition, let's say, it is the heart of the event. There is an international symposium which is of 2 days. This is again an important event because it actually adds value or content into the exhibition, but into the entire theme as well. There is a vision competition, and this is something which is very much landed into the local scene and the local context of Tallinn and Estonia. And I think this is a huge challenge, especially for curators that they are coming, that they are international, they are outside of Estonia, because it's always difficult to understand, let's say, to discover the possibilities, the limitations, the challenges, so that a case study and a theme could really make sense and could impact the local communities and the local environment. So for us and to me, that was one of the most challenging but also most interesting work that we have been developing with the vision competition, and of course with the support of the local team. Then there is the installation competition, which Raul explained very well, and I also have heard that there will be this year a much more direct connection with the curators, and I think this is great. This is brilliant, because it is a very important built-up mock-up. It is a prototype that is becoming a kind of a landmark of the Biennale. So the more related to the theme, the more close to what the curators want to achieve with the proposal of their theme, the better. And I think that is a very, let's say, wise decision and evolution from your side. The installation competition is always a challenge, because at the end of the day, not only a one-to-one building prototype needs to be set up, but it also needs to be maintained for several months in the outdoor area of the museum, within, of course, conditions which are like heavy winter, as the one that we have in Tallinn. So I think this is also like a very challenging and interesting responsibility. The tab catalog is an important milestone. A responsibility of the curators for us has been fundamental, and it has been also challenging in the sense that the catalog needs to be ready at the opening of the Biennale, no? And this means that lots of work needs to be done beforehand. Sometimes, you know, some of the work is not yet fully finished when the catalog is being prepared. So a kind of a smart strategy, I guess, it's also very much appreciated, so that the catalog represents the work, but also includes content that goes beyond the exhibition. It, let's say, connects with the parallel events that they are happening within the Biennale, and it adds as well content to the theme. I think that I have a couple of more things that maybe I would tell them more in a discussion mode. They invited me here to say also my overall experience, no? And I think that the first thing I would like to share with everybody is that having been one of the head curators of Tallinn Architecture Biennale, I have to say that it is a unique experience. It's a unique experience because, first of all, Tallinn is an absolutely culturally rich, historically rich, technologically advanced city. It's a place where so many different things are happening. It's a place where discussion about the future of architecture becomes a very, let's say, the place becomes very relevant from where to have these discussions. All the team, the local team in Tallinn, they are very much interested into expanding the impact, not only in Estonia and in Tallinn, but also into the world. And I think that this vision from their side on connecting internationally makes that Biennale very, very strong. It is, of course, an intensive work. In our case, we had 2 years because we had a break year because of COVID. We worked hard for 2 years. I imagine that it might be even harder if everything needs to be done in 1 year. So it is intense, but it's also important to mention that there is an absolutely great team on the ground there. No, it's a small team, but it's a very effective team. Raul and all the roundtable members of TAB, they are following the work in a discreet, but also in an advisory way, which is very, very constructive. And then there is the team of producers in Tallinn, which I have to say that it has been an amazing experience to work with them because they are just like absolutely amazing, very efficient. And as I said, it's a small but very, very effective team. Maybe another thing that I had in mind, and I took some notes here, is the fact that the Tallinn Architecture Biennale, the way that it is now organized, it includes many different events. It's not just the exhibition, the symposium, the installation competition, the vision competition, which are within, let's say, the responsibilities of the curators, but there are different parallel events. And I think that this is a kind of a huge opportunity and a huge challenge at the same time on how to be able to, let's say, not necessarily coordinate, because the curators do not coordinate all these events, but how to create this kind of connecting line so that the impact increases from different fronts, with different people leading these events, with different formats, no, like from community engaging events to media and video screenings. So it's not only just about architecture. There is a much more wide, let's say, cultural effort that is being done there with the parallel events. And as I say, no, it is a huge opportunity, but it's also like a huge challenge for the work. I think it's also fair to say that there is a relatively small budget for the Biennale, and that means that there might be the need of extra work from the curator side in order to secure extra funding. This is, of course, depends on the ambition of the curators. This is something that we have done from the very beginning, and it was not easy, but it is something that it adds, of course, lots of value. The team, the entire, let's say, budget of TAB is being fundraised by the team. So there is a great effort from their side, but still, I believe that according to the vision and the objectives of each curator, additional sponsorship is going to raise, let's say, the level of the work and the presentation. So I would highly suggest also to the curators to have this in mind. Then maybe a last but not least point, especially for the ones that they are from the international scene and they are not coming from Estonia, or they do not have a very close relationship to Estonia, is that for us has been fundamental to have not only the local team supporting the producing team, not only the roundtable of the tab, but also our chief advisor in the team. So having, let's say, local people within the team is really fundamental in order to land many of the ideas into the specific context, which becomes very, very important. No, so there I would also suggest that the kind of a very let's say well thought strategy and action in order to detect these people that could become part of your team in case that you are international. I think that the team also helps lots on that. They are creating a kind of an advising panel, so international curators could have access to certain advising if they are searching for more people. And I think that also might be a very interesting way to get some help there if you need it. Rather than that, again, summing up that it's a very intensive but a very, very rewarding experience. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to see the short list of the selected themes, and looking forward also to see the winners.
Thank you, Areti. Wise words, I have to say, from your side. Really, thank you for the sort of practical side of it as well. It was lovely to work with you, and we are also really excited about the next team to work with. But now we have Kaidi and Paco from Tallinn City. So please.
So yes, hello.
Hello.
My name is Kaidi Põldoja. This is Paco Ulman, and we are both architects and urban planners. We work for the Strategic Management Office of the City of Tallinn, the Department of Spatial Planning and Design. And we are here to give you a short, hopefully inspirational presentation of 10 global topics that are also, in our opinion, relevant in Tallinn and relevant in the planning of future cities. These topics are in no particular order, and we are not here to dictate anything to the curators, but we hope that this short presentation will give you a better insight into the city of Tallinn and the topics that we deal with, we think about every day.
This is our little secret wish list when
Our secret.
Trying to get out.
So here we go. I'm going to share our screen.
Maybe Paco, you could start slowly to introduce orally already your ideas, so that's kind of fill the time.
Yeah.
So yes. So idea was that these topics or themes we decided to make multiple and decided to think about in a sort of way that these are the questions we're maybe dealing right now, but we'd like to and we have to. So these are questions maybe after questions, and these are quite broad questions and questions about the future.
Yeah. So we sent Anu the presentation. Hopefully it will arrive shortly. But the first topic is solitude, and solitude among others. Estonia in general is a very kind of individualistic society, we would say. Estonia is sparsely populated, and Estonians are quite reserved by nature. And Tallinn is also a rather like sparsely populated city, if we can even call Tallinn a city. And furthermore, as a result of modernist city planning, we have quite many modernist city districts in Tallinn. We have a lot of monofunctional areas in the city of Tallinn, kind of, and as well as quite like spaced out urban plans, resulting in a situation where many societal groups find themselves in isolation, especially those who are technologically challenged, if we could say that.
Mm-hmm.
And it results in the situations where, for example, the elderly quite often find themselves being stuck in modernist monofunctional sub-districts. And also, we have to think that Estonia has a reputation as e-Estonia, and we have some kind of a, let's say, a good reputation, and that this a country of future, but somehow. Somehow it's also it comes with some challenges that actually these are, we can sense some kind of a let's say some kind of a fatigue, this digital fatigue. The first slide, please.
Anu. So
yes.
And some kind of a, so
this one,
solitude among others, the first slide.
okay.
Yes.
We have like 10 topics, 10
Yes.
slides, really. A simple presentation.
Sorry, so you can slowly mention when I need to.
This the slides are just eye candy, so they're nothing more.
Okay.
So solitude both in the most negative as well as a positive sense, because at the other end of the spectrum of solitude is this concept of positive solitude that Estonians also value very much, something that a typical Estonian craves for by going away from the city, by going to nature, to forests, and seeing solitude as a liberating experience and relief from the exhaustion that comes from the fast pace of city life that urban space should also offer, is something that we think quite a lot about.
Yes, so overall we think about if we design public spaces to Tallinnites, Tallinites, then let's we have to think about what are we competing against? Are we competing against the smartphone, or what are our like special abilities to bring people into the public space?
Yeah. But let's move on to the next topic.
Next slide, please.
Next slide is growing old with the city. And I think this is a question that many European cities tackle in city planning, or in like dealing with the difficulties of an aging society. We think that the essential question for the aging society is not about the lifespan in the sense that how long people can live. It is not about when old people will be going to die, will die. It is more about how and where are they going to live in a way that life is still enjoyable and provides fulfillment.
Yeah, you can think about that. The problem is opposite, that not that people die, but people don't die enough because the people are getting, their lifespan is getting longer. So but their needs are getting becoming bigger.
And that also raises this very important question, as Tallinn is an aging society. How should the city space of Tallinn adapt to this notion? And we think that roughly 1/3 of the year, because of our climate, the urban space poses a challenge for those who are elderly, due to climate, due to the roads becoming slippery or being blocked by snow and other these topics that become more and more relevant in the context of an aging society. Next
slide, please.
Big city fevers. You know, as sometimes small dogs have a big dog perception, the city of Tallinn in a way suffers from this big city perception, meaning that sometimes in city planning, we have imitated cities that are on a completely bigger scale than we are. We are a small city of 450,000 inhabitants only. So the younger generation of city planners believe that we have not taken advantage of the advantages of Tallinn's small size. And the question is, what possibilities does Tallinn have if we give up the dream of being a metropole?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The next topic is so-called competing
Need for space.
Is need for space. An ever-growing need for space. We believe that humans seem to have an ever-increasing need for personal space. In the context of city planning, it results in the wasting of space. To give you an example, an average size apartment fit for a family at the beginning of the 20th century in Tallinn was approximately maybe 50 square meters, and it served a whole family. And this kind of typology is very typical to the so-called wooden districts that Tallinn has around its old town. But nowadays, this size of an apartment maybe serves only 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
So we have an ever-growing need of space, but at the same time, to make Tallinn, to design Tallinn according to the 15-minute city concept, we actually need to densify. We need to densify to kind of start getting used to living in a more dense environment.
Because the alternative is to actually, people are going outside of the city, and all this problem circle is coming back. So transportations and cars and everything. Yeah. So, but also there is a maybe another phenomenon with this, which somehow connects to this the solitude point, which is that we all have I don't know, specific needs and some kind of very individual needs, and we all it seems to us that we as citizens or people more and more want to cocoon ourselves, to build ourselves this very comfortable place. And is it digital or is it spatial? But it comes with different kinds of needs that's not sociable. So you can see a theme. There is some points that are quite connected to each other in our points. Oops. Next one. Yeah.
Next. The concept of remembering and what it means in the city space. And for a post-socialist city such as Tallinn is, this is a hot topic for us, especially after the Ukrainian war started. How are we going to deal with Soviet time heritage, places of remembering, for example, because it's quite easy to remove and displace the monuments, these kind of objectual monuments, and take them to museums. But how are you going to deal with these vast spaces of remembering? Marem Memorial is one of them pictured on our slideshow.
There is also this is also architectural, because for now the discussions is about how to de-decorate Soviet era Stalinistic houses, which have lots of decorations on them, so to nullify them. And so it's also a very interesting topic, a very controversial right now.
Very controversial topic in our case. So how is urban space in general related to memory and the act of remembering, as well as celebrating the past and reminiscing? So very multifaceted topic, we would say. Mm-hmm. But next slide, please. The concept of being in competition with yourself. It's quite usual that capitals of a region are in constant competition with each other. We compete with other capitals of the region for investments or for talent, for example. And in order to be successful in that race, cities need to have a strong spatial strategy or well thought through spatial decisions for decades to come. But this is not the case for Tallinn, in the sense that for Tallinn, for decades, the city planning of Tallinn has been quite developer-led and therefore quite liberal due to the large proportion of privately owned land in Tallinn. But it's also kind of described by these ad hoc planning decisions that the city of Tallinn is used to making.
Mm-hmm. And it's true history, because Tallinn history is quite hectic. The 20th century has been a lot of turns, let's say, and broken linkages. So we have to ask: is it maybe the past of Tallinn is like maybe the future of the Tallinn is the same as past? Maybe this is actually something disconnectedness of the city is actually a feature, not the bug. But let's take another one. Next one, please.
So being an integrated city or vice versa, a disintegrated one.
Yes, around 45% of inhabitants of Tallinn are Russian speaking. So we have a situation where in Tallinn there is actually two societies living parallel to each other, Estonians and Russians, and also now lots of Ukrainians also. Yeah. And this is also a spatial question, not only social. That actually there are some areas in Tallinn that are more where more Russians Russian-speaking persons live, and there are areas that are more Estonian speakers.
And what is interesting that these Russian-speaking communities and Estonian-speaking communities have a totally different approach to Soviet time modernist large-scale panel housing districts. Because for Estonians, these so-called bedroom districts, kind of, you could say that they pose like an escape room challenge. It is usually the first life goal of an Estonian youth born into these bedroom districts to move away, to move to the central Tallinn, to move to the northern Tallinn district. But for the Russian-speaking community, it's very characteristic to move within the districts.
Yeah, and move back actually.
And move back to these districts. And they are often, they prefer to live there, or they are left behind for generations to come. Which means that we have this problem of disintegrated city, a city of different communities living in different districts.
Yes, and not small, but actually quite big communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so much about that topic. Let's move on to the next one. The debate whether Tallinn is already complete, maybe. If you walk around in Tallinn, in the city center of Tallinn, you can actually see vast empty plots of land in the city center, but actually they are no longer blank spaces. Their future is mostly already decided by the practice of detailed planning. And in Estonia, a fixed detailed plan is, it's kind of a financial and spatial promise that lives on forever. And this problem raises a question: what if we wish to overlook these previously made spatial decisions? What is the point of creating new forward-looking strategies when we have this issue of detailed planning decisions that live on forever.
Yes, and actually the problem is that also we have right now general plan of central Tallinn, and there is and what kind of possibilities are there to plan when the city is actually already built and there are no more spaces. So though crystallization of centers of cities is a really interesting topic for us in that sense.
And also when we think of the wider context where we find ourselves, all cities in the world right now, where we are experiencing vast changes and rapid changes, there is this question, how is the modification of cities even possible? For example, on the example of Tallinn, where the already existing city center is not only defined by these detailed plans, but also restricted by quite harsh heritage regulations and nature protection regulations.
But also ownership.
And ownership regulations. And the fact is that sometimes ownership, nature and historic material, they kind of overrule the need to create a livable modern city. So maybe Tallinn is already completed and there's nothing we can do. But on the other hand, the next slide. Tallinn has this reputation of being a city unfinished, that a city that can never be finished. And a couple of decades ago, an Estonian writer called Raul Järg described Estonian spatial culture as a series of interruptions, meaning that it is very characteristic for the Estonian culture and our built space to be kind of interrupted in the same. And these interruptions are caused by the changing of power, regimes, of beliefs and spatial concepts. The resulting urban space in Tallinn is fragmented. Buildings and urban spaces of different eras are side by side. And what is also interesting that all of the grander visions that have been drafted for Tallinn in the previous decades or even centuries, they have always been left incomplete, such as a modernist concept of an axis from the city center to the sea, or Ravala Boulevard in the heart of the city, or the concept of an express tramway connecting the Lasnamäe bedroom district to the city. Everything is always left incomplete. And you could also say that to this day, in Tallinn, we kind of lack a so-called social agreement. What kind of city do we actually want, or even what kind of city we consider beautiful and livable and nice. But on the other hand, this situation can also be kind of considered as a possibility. Everything is possible.
As a puzzle city.
And the last topic.
Last one. So Tallinn is burning. This is a reference to an old punk song from the 90s. So we are adaptable animals. We have evolved to adjust to and survive in many difficult and extreme conditions.
And the kind of extremes have, in a way, become a new normality, not just for Tallinn, but for cities in general. We expect to face these kind of floods or extreme temperatures, or even like health crises and wars. But still, there's this question: how adaptable are we as cities, or how adaptable we should be? And what are the known unknowns? For example, climate crisis is a very well-known unknown. But also, what are the so-called unknown unknowns?
Yes, so at what point the city is going to be a failed city? So if there are failed states, is there also a failed cities? And what is the point of this? What is the breaking point of a city? So with that extreme last ideas, maybe that's
all from us.
We can ask some questions.
Yeah.
We answer some questions.
We can answer some questions.
We can always ask some questions.
So thank you.
Thank you, Kaidi
you.
and Paco, with a very wide range of topics what you tackle. Seems that you told in the beginning that Tallinn is not a big city, rather small, but the amount of the things what's on your table and the wideness of the visions are very.
This is actually
so like a big for the big city, and
yeah,
of course
these are the big city. These are the big city problems in small town.
The question is how to solve them in a small city.
In a small city.
But just for the listener, I just say that those were the ideas for the vision competition. So that's that put table from the Tallinn side to open up the Tallinn context. Thank you. That was my small comment.
So thank you, everyone. Do any of the participants at the moment have any questions that you would ask live from either Areti or Kaidi or Paco or us?
If you don't mind, I have a question. My name is Anastasia. I'm a curator and designer based in Rotterdam. I have my own office. First of all, thank you very much for very interesting and motivating introductions. And specifically for the 10 global topics, I think it's absolutely fresh and amazing and original perspective. I have a very particular question because I have been thinking already about this 10 trends, 10 topics, and I'm based in Rotterdam. So my perspective is from the city, which is quite comparable to Tallinn in many respects. But some time ago, we started growing due to a set of new circumstances. But every single topic that you listed is very much applicable to Rotterdam. So as an example, if we would start thinking about a biennial, we have a Rotterdam regular architectural show, which is becoming quite prominent. But I think that we could have easily selected one of 10 trends and make it the new theme of the next Rotterdam show. But to what extent it would be interesting for you to bridge the Tallinn's biennial agenda to this kind of cities, because if we look at the world, we will see that there is a kind of collection, or we can put together a collection of this kind of cities that are at the tip of degrowth or growing, but can be compared. Or for you, it would be a little bit far-fetched to look at kind of comparable examples, and it would be more interesting to focus on Tallinn per se and just bring in architects or architectural collectives. So my question is very specific: to what extent it would be interesting to show the city experiences within the show?
So you mean that when the problems are the same or
comparable,
so that maybe the solutions also are something.
You
something can, that we can speak the same language, we can talk about the same numbers, we can think about some solutions. Not all of them are copy pastable, so to speak, but at the same time because otherwise I was thinking when you spoke about this kind of small big city complex, of course we can bring architects from very big locations, I don't know, Madrid or New York, and that will be all fantastic, but to what extent that would be kind of graspable in the context of a very particular setting that you have just described. So I'm thinking about this kind of mapping of the world in terms of how to establish some common language with other places on the city level.
Yeah, I think about me personally, I think about this idea of scale is quite interesting, because in different scales, things seem to act very different way. If we see bigger cities act very differently than smaller cities. So I think it's quite a valid point.
Or small big cities.
Or small big cities.
Small
Ambitious
big cities,
cities.
Ambitious.
This bridging kind of the gap and collaborating with different cities and bringing in positive examples is always beneficial for us as everyday planners, because we kind of face this brick wall quite a lot that some kind of counterparts say that these or that kind of solutions are impossible in Tallinn. So it's part of our everyday work to prove that these solutions are possible, and they have been implemented in other cities, and it kind of creates this kind of positive competition.
Right.
Positive shaming.
Positive shaming, we call it. We kind of need that.
Thank you.
Okay.
If I may add from our side as well, of course, the bringing different experience here into the Biennale, it's very good. That's the idea of the event whole. But on the other hand, particularly the vision competition is usually choose one place or idea of site where which giving to the architects, to the teams who will propose their ideas, how to tackle with this issues proposed by the curators team. So it's like what Kaidi and Paco today introduced is a kind of clay to the future sculpture or future team for the curators team to set up particular question, particular site, particular theme for the competitors, next stage competitors.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Silence. So unless anyone has anything, I have to thank you, Areti, thank you, Kaidi, thank you, Paco, for being with us and everyone who's listening. So we will upload the recording. In spite of a little technical glitch, I think we got the message forward. And I hope to see you, see your work on April 4th.
Let's maybe just recall the timeline of the competition again. That's the deadline is April 4th, and then we will hope to announce the public result, the result publicly in end of April. So hopefully after 2.5 months, we will have a new team for the next 2024 tab, and we really hope that all you will take part and set up your wonderful and great ideas for the next tab.